Let's talk plant-based real quick because I went on this journey this year to went 100% plant-based, I think Jan or February, to run this Ironman race. I'm still plant-based. I had Rich Roll in here talking about that. But you know, you guys, like John Joseph, have been doing this a long time. And then you've seen the rest of the world kind of catch up. What is that like watching that happen? And what do you think is the future of plant-based eating? Also, are you vegan? Are you not? And for people that have nothing to do with this type of eating, what do you tell them when you first meet them? A lot of questions.
Can I go?
Yeah,
no, that was great.
Yeah.
We've been eating a vegan diet for about 16 years, and we've kind of experimented ourselves a huge amount with kind of vegetarian, vegan, raw foodist for a year, big into fasting, cleansing, enemas, all sorts of things, big into juicing, and now a whole food plant-based diet is what we eat. And initially when we went vegan, you know, you become very, at least we did, we became very fundamental. We come back, I remember Granny would cook an apple pie, and you know, in the Irish mother traditionally shares her love through food, and this is our grandmother, so this is the ultimate matriarch, and she's, do you want apple pie, boys? It's like, no, Granny, I'm a vegan. And it's like kind of like totally dissing her love, and you've kind of totally disconnected this whole energy exchange. And for many years we were like that, and then I realized, shit, it's not like there's also like my grandmother then accepting her love. So of course, Granny, I'll take it, and can I have a little bit more cream? So we've kind of learned to find our own edges with it and what's appropriate and what's not, because ultimately vegan or vegetarian, you're still going to die. We're all going to die, and I think what's most important is that we enjoy our life and that we connect with others and that we're accessible. So we found over the years to be less fundamental, and we find
what I was going to say is that like less about, like, our message is not to make it a vegetarian or vegan or become part of some elite eating club. Like as Stephen said, we're all going to die, and we've all got to accept that and do our best, and ultimately we want to be happy, healthy humans that feel good in our body. And all the research, you know, depending on what research you read, would indicate that the more fruit and veg and whole foods you eat, the more you're going to be healthier and happier, the more your body will function better, and there's a probability if your body's functioning better, you'll feel better. So like our message is just eat more whole foods, that's what it is, and
start with it. And like it's funny, as we get bigger, the vegans can get very righteous. They're a very righteous group of people, and they can fling crap at us, and it's kind of like, wow. Like, and often it's someone who's been vegan for 6 months or a year.
Because like, you're not necesslarily following it properly.
You're not vegan enough.
You're not vegan enough.
And it's like, hey, we've been doing this for 17 years, and like if our business was 100, like our business, we sell a couple of vegetarian things, like a couple of dishes are, and you'll get lots of vegan people who get very upset about it, and it's like, hey, you know, in a sense, we probably bring more people into the movement because you're accepting, you're meeting people where they're at, and you're going, okay, here's a lasagna, it does have cheese in it, it does have a certain amount of animal exploitation in the cheese, and that isn't what I want to be about, but in a sense, it's bringing people, the market hasn't quite been ready for it, except nowadays, vegan is just, the wave is so big that maybe it's time for us to become a completely 100% vegan business.
You know, it is weird, and for people just getting new to the community, it is kind of, there's weird factions, and like John Joseph doesn't use the word vegan, and some people don't, and some people do, and you know, it's a weird thing. But for me, it's been an amazing experiment, and I wouldn't have done it unless I had this movie to do and this challenge.
And John Joseph all
on my ass, and the camera's following me around for 6 months. And then my wife went all in and started cooking. But we fell in love with vegetables again. We found all these possibilities, and I found it kind of a joy to keep up. And again, but I'm also asking myself questions. I'm also saying like, okay, you know, can I eat vegetarian? You know, can I bring something back, responsibility? So I'm still always asking questions, and I think that's good, but I've learned so much by doing this, and I've become so much more healthy by doing this, but it's kind of like to be continued going on here. And now, but also, I mean, you're seeing massive companies and franchises, and you guys are working, you know, with Waitrose now, is that it?
Yeah.
So how do you feel about kind of the commoditization of veganism as a brand to sell? Or is that an argument you don't want to get involved in? You know?
No, I think it's phenomenal. It's amazing to see, and even like research from Oxford University, like where they kind of encompassed 40,000 farms and kind of 90% of the food chain, at least in the West. You know, you deduced to what was the single thing that you could reduce your environmental impact, and people would think it's, you know, it's electric cars or maybe it's solar panels, but it's to eat a vegan diet. So like.
I was going to say, just to bring it back to your last question, like, and just to validate, like, it's not about vegan or vegetarian because our kids aren't, because their mothers aren't. So it really is about eating more fruit and veg and having a healthy attitude to food. But what I was going to tell a story was back about 8 years ago, like, we started our business because we wanted to get people to eat more fruit and veg because we felt that it's such a positive impact in our own lives. So we started this course. I was reading a book by Dr. Dean Ornish at the time. He was an amazing doctor in the States. I think it was The Spectrum it was called. And Steve was saying, oh wow, like Mary was in and she was saying she's lowered her weight, like doing Weight Watchers. And he was like, I wonder could we start like a course, like where people can measure the benefit in their health by putting them on a plant-based diet. It's like, okay, cool, I'm reading this book and I say, right, let's go into this 4-week course, put them on a whole food vegan diet and see what happens. So I went down to the local doctors, I found this nurse, Angela, she said, yeah, cool, I'll support you, whatever, pay me 50 euro. We put up signs around the shop. This is like 8 years ago. We put up signs around the shop. We said, reverse heart disease, you know, sexy, skinny, like a real kind of snake oil salesman advertisement. And we had 20 guinea pigs, you know, humans that were up for taking this challenge. And Angela, the first night, she measured people's cholesterol, weight, and blood pressure. And they came upstairs to us. And as chefs, it was about getting people to eat porridge. You know, it was getting them to eat vegetable soups and eat dals and chilies and pad thais and move like, this is 20 Irish people that are meeting 2 veg people 8 years ago. And it was a huge shift because when we had to put on a lot of videos about men and women in white coats saying why it works and whatever. And anyway, the 20 people took up for the challenge. 4 weeks stayed a whole food vegan diet. We'd starting measurements and we'd finishing measurements. And in the last night we were, you know, we didn't know it was going to work. We really didn't. We were totally taking a punt on it.
And we were putting our ideals to the line. Like if this doesn't work, it's like, we got to find new ideals. We got to
reinvent ourselves. But thankfully, you know, cholesterol dropped by 20%. You know, weight dropped. Everyone lost lots of people lost 10 kilos. You know, there was really positive. Everyone's blood pressure regulated, and there was so many other positive side effects that we kind of got lots of national press on it, and we kind of ran out of time running the business to do these courses. So we built an online course, and we've had I think 15,000 people through it from 52 different countries.
Okay.
And each time it reaffirms it. Like, on Saturday, I met a taxi driver from Dublin that was 55 that said, listen, I'm a fucking real man. I grew up eating flies, burgers and chips up until 2 years ago where I had my first heart attack. My daughter's been nagging me to try this fucking vegan thing. I did your course 6 weeks ago and I've lost 20 kilos. I've never felt this good. My rash on my back is gone that I've had for 20 years and I can sleep. And this was like a real Dublin man that was like, you know, salt to the earth, that is not a typical kind of woo-woo. He's not into chakras being aligned. He plays darts and drinks pints, you know.
So yeah, amazing to see.